All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something unexpectedly fascinating. We are taking a 19th century medical text and looking at how it perfectly mirrors modern, systemic problem solving. If you're a busy executive or a manager, you absolutely know the frustration of playing whack-a-mole with surface-level metrics, right? So let's explore how the historical work of Dr. Hahnemann and modern author Dr. Praful Vijaykar reveals why moving from just reactive symptom management to proactive root cause analysis can frankly fundamentally change how we operate.
It's kind of the ultimate universal business dilemma, isn't it? Why do recurring problems resist quick fixes? You know the drill. You apply a solution, the immediate red flashing light turns off. But, well, a month later, the system crashes again in a totally new way. Whether we're talking about organizational behavior, supply chain failures, or even human health, superficial solutions always eventually fail. We're going to look at exactly why that happens, and we'll do it through the lens of a massive historical pivot in the field of homeopathy.
Okay, let's dive into this. We have a lot of ground to cover. Here's our quick roadmap for today. First, the symptom management trap. Second, Hahnemann's strategic pivot. Third, defining the MIASM theory. Fourth, moving beyond abstract mysticism. And finally, number 5, the cellular defense paradigm. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The symptom management trap. Treating the KPI, not the actual system. Between 1816 and 1828, the founder of homeopathy, Dr. Hahnemann, faced what was basically a massive operational crisis. He realized that treating just the surface metrics, the visible symptoms of his patients, simply was not working for chronic issues.
He was experiencing this stark contrast that's probably going to feel pretty familiar to you. On one hand, he saw superficial relief. For acute, simple symptoms, the standard treatments worked beautifully. But on the other hand, he faced chronic relapse. This was the stubborn, really frustrating return of complex diseases. Patients would get better, only for new, more stubborn symptoms to pop up. The system itself wasn't fixed. The problem had just shape-shifted.
And to see just how dangerous treating only the surface can be, get this. Dr. Vijaykar notes 3 patients presenting with the exact same severe symptoms, a semi-comatose state with violent shrieking. So, case 1, a 65-year-old woman, receives a symptom-based remedy and completely recovers. Case 2, a 37-year-old man with a brain tumor, gets the exact same approach and dies. Case 3, a man with liver cirrhosis, comes out of the coma but ultimately dies of liver failure. Same surface symptoms, wildly unpredictable results. It proves that treating the symptom alone is just a completely flawed operating model.
Which brings us to Section 2, Hahnemann's strategic pivot, his search for the root cause. After seeing these completely unpredictable results, Hahnemann didn't just point fingers at the patients or randomly try new remedies. He realized a deeper, systemic flaw was driving these chronic relapses. He knew he needed to pivot.
Now, this wasn't some overnight light bulb moment. Back in 1816, he admitted that symptom-based treatments were failing in chronic cases. He then spent years in relentless, uninterrupted investigation. By 1820, he realized he was missing a crucial keystone. And finally, after 12 years of dedicated root cause analysis, he published his findings in a work called Chronic Diseases in 1828. That is exactly the kind of long-term strategic commitment it takes to solve systemic failures.
During this really grueling period, Hahnemann wrote this profound statement: "There will always remain some ailments uncured by homeopathy, the remains of some deep-seated chronic disease." He recognized that without finding that systemic keystone, his entire operational model of healing was fundamentally defective. You simply can't fix a crumbling foundation by throwing a fresh coat of paint on the walls.
So what exactly was that keystone? That brings us to Section 3, defining the MIASM theory, or the underlying systemic flaw. Let's break down this historical framework.
Okay, so a miasm, as defined in our source text, is essentially a taint or a pollution on a person's constitution. Hahnemann actually called it a deeper-lying original evil. It's a systemic flaw that continuously dictates chronic illness, and here is the real kicker. It does this irrespective of a healthy lifestyle or a robust diet. If that miasm is left unaddressed, the system will just continuously vitiate and degrade itself over time.
Hahnemann logically traced the entire journey of these diseases backward, right from the end-stage symptoms down to their initial surface expressions. He classified all chronic systemic flaws into 3 distinct starting points, or root cause categories. First, psora, which originated from an itch. Second, psychosis, originating from venereal warts. And third, syphilis, originating from a chancre. He argued that suppressing these early warning signs basically drove the pollution deeper into the core of the system.
Moving on to Section 4, moving beyond abstract mysticism, basically modernizing the model. Let's fast forward to the modern era. Because, as groundbreaking as Hahnemann's root cause analysis was back in 1828, science has obviously advanced. Dr. Praful Vijaykar, the author of our source text, argues that operational models absolutely must adapt and modernize to survive. Otherwise, they just become obsolete.
Now, what's really interesting about this visual from Vijayakar's book cover is how deliberate the imagery is to prove this shift from mysticism to concrete science. We see a biological cell, a clock representing the lifespan and miasmatic stages of man, and a DNA chromosome. He is literally visually mapping a 19th century philosophical concept directly onto modern genetics and cellular biology.
To push this forward, Vijaykar coined this fantastic term, MIASM. Yeah, a combination of the word miasm and assumption. He basically argues that followers of Hahnemann have let the theory stagnate in this cocoon of mystic, magical words. Holding on to unscientific witch doctor assumptions is completely detrimental to progress. It's time to end the assumptions and start relying on hard data.
So the whole crucial point is summarized perfectly in this quote from Vijaykar. The science of homeopathy, with its miasm theory, is now no more unexplainable. He is directly challenging the status quo here. He's saying, hey, we don't have to rely on vague philosophy anymore. We can actually explain these systemic flaws using hard, modern sciences.
Which leads us to our final part, Section 5, the cellular defense paradigm, the mathematics of human defense. This is where we reframe the system entirely, not as some mystical entity, but as a highly complex organization driven by cellular data and mathematics.
Vijaykar integrates a whole suite of hard sciences to prove his point. He correlates Hahnemann's old theories directly with the laws of physics and chemistry, biology and genetics, immunology and embryology. He proves that systemic defense isn't just random. It is mathematically and genetically governed right at the cellular level. Every single reaction of the system is a calculated, strategic move.
And that brings us to, honestly, one of the most profound paradigm shifts we've uncovered here. Disease starts in the cell. Diseases are a defense mechanism. Really think about that for a second. What we view as a problem, the failing metric, is actually the foundational unit of the organization executing a calculated defense strategy against a much deeper threat. The symptom isn't the system failing. It's the system desperately trying to save itself.
So, as we wrap things up today, I really want to leave you with a provocative question to chew on. Look at your own organizations. Look at your complex projects. When the alarm bells start ringing, are you just treating the symptom? Are you just putting out the visible fire on the surface? Or are you digging deep, looking past the defense mechanism, and actually addressing the underlying systemic miasm? Because as we've learned today, curing the symptom without fixing the root cause, that's just waiting around for the next, even more catastrophic failure. Until next time, keep digging for those root causes.